The stories and customs of the prehistoric Celts are the source of Irish mythology. Although the Celts were virtually exterminated by the Romans, a few isolated populations persisted in Brittany, Cornwall, Wales, Scotland, and of course, Ireland. These communities have succeeded in passing down the old tales orally, providing us with an insight into the mythology and folklore of the mysterious Celts. Don't forget to subscribe to Ancient History for fascinating insights into the mysteries of the ancient world and captivating historical narratives. Fionn MacCumhaill and the Salmon of Knowledge. The mythical Irish hero Fionn MacCumhaill, also referred to as Fionn MacCool, was the leader of the Fianna, a group of fighters. The stories of Fionn MacCumhaill fit into one of the 4 cycles of Irish mythology, called the Fenian Cycle, which is centered on the Fianna and Fionn MacCumhaill's life. Though there are other tales pertaining to Fionn MacCumhaill, the story of the Salmon of Knowledge is arguably the most well-known. There is a legend that the Salmon of Knowledge, a magical fish, can be seen swimming in the Boyne River. It was said that full knowledge will be given to the first person to taste the fish. A poet named Finnegas lived close to the Boyne, and despite his wisdom, he desired to capture and consume fish. When Fionn MacCumhaill moved in with Finnegas after 7 years of attempting, he was still unsuccessful in hooking the fish. Finnegas knew that this was the Salmon of Knowledge the moment he caught the most exquisite, shimmering salmon of all time. Fionn was given the go-ahead to cook the salmon by Finnegas, but he was forbidden from even tasting the seafood. After starting a fire, Fionn cooked the salmon, but not before burning his thumb on it and putting it in his mouth to ease the pain. Finnegas knew he had been the first to taste the fish when Fionn brought the feast to him, and Finnegas saw the wisdom in Fionn's eyes. By this point, Fionn had grown to be Ireland's wisest man and a superb warrior and leader. The Cattle Raid of Cooley. The fabled Queen Medb and her husband Ailill argue about who is wealthier in the epic tale of the Ulster Cycle. Their parallel sparks a search for Finnbhennach, a majestic white-horned bull that only Ailill owns. Maeve, determined not to be outdone, sets her sights on Ulster's Dair MacFeachna's bull. Dair declines a kind offer, which starts a fight that turns into a full-scale war. Due to a curse on the Ulster warriors, Maeve marches her army towards Ulster with confidence in her victory, but Cúchulainn, a powerful young warrior, stands in their way. Maeve is defeated in spite of several attempts to overcome him, and not even Fergus, Cúchulainn's foster father, can change the situation. Tragically, Maeve forces Ferdia, Cúchulainn's foster brother, to engage in a lethal combat with him. Despite suffering severe injuries, Cúchulainn prevails in the intense struggle. When Maeve grabs the chance to take the bull, a revitalized Cúchulainn approaches Fergus, who keeps his word and retreats. Maeve's triumph is short-lived, however, as the brown bull of Ulster prevails in a titanic battle between the two bulls. And so the great story of the Cattle Raid of Cooley comes to an end, leaving a legacy of bravery, cunning, and fate. The Children of Lir. The most well-known tale from the Mythological Cycle, the oldest collection of Irish mythology, is presumably this one. Lir, an Irish sea god whose name means sea in Old Irish, is the protagonist of the tale. After Ea passes away during childbirth, Lir becomes a widower. Together, he and his wife had 4 children. Afterwards, he weds Aoife, Ea's younger sister. Aoife is initially devoted to her stepchildren, but when she witnesses their father's undying love for them, she becomes envious and transforms them into white swans for a millennium. The swans reside on the lake of Deravara for 3 centuries, during which time their father establishes a village to be close to his offspring. The swan children's life on the lake isn't so horrible, all things considered, even though they outlast him. The siblings are forced apart by the extreme weather on the stormy Sea of Moyle for the next 300 years. Their last 3 centuries are spent on a little lake on the Isle of Inisglora, where they discover that the society and way of life they were accustomed to have long since vanished. When they hear Christian bells ringing, the magic is broken. The siblings transform back into humans, but they start aging right away. Just before they pass away, a Christian missionary christens them. Since the Celts predate the spread of Christianity, it is possible that the Children of Lir narrative was altered to reflect new beliefs and had a different ending at one point. Swans are frequently portrayed as shapeshifters or cursed humans, and they are typically connected to metamorphoses in folklore. Swans play a part in another Irish folktale about a Scandinavian princess who falls in love with the Irish hero Cúchulainn and turns into a swan to fly across the sea. The Giant's Causeway. Another myth that highlights Fionn MacCumhaill and highlights the connections between Scottish and Irish Celts is this one. The giant Fionn in this tale becomes furious when a giant from Scotland named Danann asserts that Ireland is his property. Off the coast of Northern Ireland, Fionn begins tossing rocks into the sea. He then intends to use them to build a bridge to Scotland in order to confront Danann. As soon as Danann learns of Fionn's plans, he begins to take a similar action with the goal of opening a route from Scotland. Danann soon grows weary of his task and takes a nap. When Fionn finally gets a good look at Danann, he is substantially too large for Fionn to handle in a fight. Swiftly withdrawing to Ireland, he and his spouse devise a scheme. Fionn's wife disguises her enormous husband as a baby, knowing that Danann would utilize the causeway to travel to Ireland. When Danann arrives, he quickly leaves after noticing how big Fionn's baby is. He hides in Fingal's cave on the Isle of Tuatha as he travels, tearing up the causeway to prevent Fionn from pursuing him. Actually, the 40,000 or so interconnecting basalt columns that make up the Giant's Causeway are the result of a natural volcanic fissure eruption that occurred ages ago on Northern Ireland's northern coast. The Scottish portion of the causeway is located in Scotland's Inner Hebrides on the deserted island of Tuatha. The same basalt columns that still support Fingal's cave may be seen, creating a natural walkway that lets people enter the cave during low tide. Tuatha Danann. According to legend, the Tuatha Danann were mystical creatures of the oldest Celtic goddess Danu. Though there are no myths associated with Danu, scholars surmise that she stood for fertility and the soil. In some stories, the Tuatha Danann landed in Ireland in flying ships encircled by black clouds that blocked out the sun for 3 days. In other stories, they emerged from a thick mist. To make sure they would dwell in this new area, they set fire to their boats and issued a challenge to fight the fabled, also known as the Bag People, who now inhabited the island. Because of their great fighting spirit, the fabled were granted permission to remain in Connaught by the victorious Tuatha Danann. 4 great treasures belonged to the Tuatha Danann, who brought a new culture to Ireland. The Stone of Fal, which would scream when the true King of Ireland stood on it, the magic sword of Nuada, which when wielded would always kill its opponent, the deadly accurate slingshot of the sun god Luch, and the cauldron of Dagda, which would never run out of food. The Tuatha Danann were ultimately vanquished by the Milesians, who eventually traveled from Iberia to Ireland. The deity of the sea, Manannán, headed the Tuatha Danann, who were to control the underworld of Ireland, according to the agreement. The Tuatha Danann became known as Ireland's fairy folk after being concealed from the gaze of the populace by mist. That's all for this video. We will be back soon with another informative video. Don't forget to like and share this video. To keep exploring ancient history together, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time!